Hey, everybody, welcome in the building. Listen, y'all. Oh, I'm making a mess here already. Hit that like button, okay? Hit the like button, people. Let me clean up my little water that I made a mess with that quick. Hit the like button, people. Hit the like button. Listen, tonight we decided, to have on the trending topics and talk about this Diddy situation. He had a lot of models. He called his company a Bad Boy Entertainment. And listen, according to all the things we're hearing on the street, yeah, bad boy for real. Can't stop, won't stop. But apparently, his days in his reign of terror has come to an end, at least for now. So let me tell you part of my thought process on what's going on with this whole Diddy situation. So, in case you didn't get it tonight, what we're doing tonight is we're doing one of the latest lawsuits. It's 62 pages. This Ashley Parham, I hope I pronounced her name correctly. She wants $50 million. Y'all heard it. $50 million. She wants $50 million. We're going to talk about her lawsuit. I'm going to connect some dots for y'all so y'all can see what's going on. And I'm telling you right now, I don't really know where they're going to be able to do his trial at, because I don't know where they're going to be able to find an impartial jury. I don't know. His lawyers got some work to do, but let's do this. As quiet as it's kept, so does the feds. Now, see, let me say this to y'all. The feds got a reputation in these streets, right? Because the people, they love to repeat it. Thiever, the feds never lose. When the feds come for you, it's a 99.9% chance that you're a done deal. But I told y'all back when they raided the house in March that they wasn't coming for him right away. I also told y'all that they wasn't coming for him right away. I told y'all September is when they came for him. I also told y'all that the reason why they wasn't coming for him right away, they ain't got enough evidence. But the people beat me down. Told me I ain't know what I was talking about, all that other stuff. And that's fine, because we're here to have a conversation. And I'm telling y'all right now, I'm not psychic. But I put two and two together. I take the pieces of the puzzle, I sit down, and I put the puzzle together. I also told y'all that, Thalia, when I saw the press conference, that something in the water wasn't clean. Didn't sound right. Something was amiss. I said Gloria Allred needed to retire. And 48 hours later, what did we hear? That Thalia told some lies. I told y'all when we read the Andrea English lawsuit that something in the water wasn't clean. Now listen, let's be clear. Diva is by no means saying that Diddy is an angel. Okay? No, that ain't what I'm saying. Where there's smoke, there is fire. But what I am saying is that everybody that's coming forth, some of them are putting 100 on 10. So Andrea told her story in her lawsuit, Andrea English. And then lo and behold, what happens? Her lawyer goes to the courts and said, I don't want her as a client anymore. You surprised? D-Way. Because when we read her lawsuit over here, I said it right away. There's something in the water ain't clean. Yes, I did. That's what I told y'all. And now, a few months later, what happened? Her lawyer said, I don't want her no more. She's not listening to me. She's not responsive. She's doing things that I don't want her to do. Now I'm paraphrasing. There was many lawsuits that came out after that. We broke them down over here and I told y'all my thoughts. Let me tell you what's going on overall. What's going on overall is that the feds felt the pressure because everybody was like, okay, you raided this man's house in March. Y'all got a reputation for getting the job done. When are you going to arrest him? So they felt the pressure. And as a result of feeling the pressure, they said, well, you know what? Let's use Cassie. Let's use Cassie's lawsuit and let's get this thing done. So then what they did was they came out with a 14-page indictment. All based on primarily the Cassie lawsuit. Then they gave a 1-800 number. That was their Hail Mary. And said, if you were a victim, this, that, and the other, call us. Call us. Because they needed more information. Now, let me say this. It is not that they have a lack of knowing allegedly things that he has done, because this Ashley Parham lawsuit, she claims an undercover cop. Now, y'all know Diva don't put 20 on 10. I'm going by her words. She claims an undercover cop was involved in her situation. So if they had an undercover cop in Diddy's camp, then that means they've been doing a whole lot of things. Are y'all working with me? Are y'all following the yellow brick road with me? The breadcrumbs? You're following? So this is what she said. So she says an undercover cop was involved. So I'm telling you what their struggle is. Their struggle is not that they don't have enough truth. The struggle is, in my opinion, they want to rewrite history too. And they want to rewrite history and take out the names of those individuals that they don't want to incriminate. So I'm just, listen, this is just Diva doing math. I ain't saying nothing fact. They looked at the tapes. Oh my God, that's so-and-so. We don't want him to go down. So let's scrap that tape. Oh my God, that's so-and-so. We don't want him to go down. So scrap that tape. Oh my God, look at this one, and that one. We don't want them to go down either. So toss that tape out. Y'all follow me? So by the time you get the tossing and twisting and moving this and moving that, because you don't want those people to go down, what do you have left? So you got to get people to come out and help you collaborate with the RICO charges. If you listen to all of these lawsuits that are coming out now, all of a sudden, all the details that were released, they're part of their lawsuit. This one claims before the feds told us that they recovered 1,000 bottles of baby oil from his homes, nobody mentioned oil. They just mentioned that these people were plied with substances, alcohol, and all kinds of stuff. Now in her lawsuit, he came in and squirted oil all over her. And the oil had, substances in it. So listen, I ain't going to get graphic here, but let's do some math here. If Diva has oil all over her and somebody else gets on top of me, the oil's not going to get on them? We got to make this make sense. The oil's not going to get on top of them? Listen, if something was in the oil and the feds tested said oil, would they not say that, oh, in these 1,000 bottles of oil that we tested, XYZ was in there? So people are running with, because Ashley said that there was something in the oil, they're like, oh, boom, there's a connection. There was something in the oil. So the other, Little Rodney mentioned fanny packs. So in her lawsuit, they came, they had a fanny pack, they had an IUD in there. It's all kind of stuff going on in this lawsuit. But if you get the kind of stuff that's going on in the lawsuit, it's trying to make a connection to the 14-page indictment, and then they keep promising us that another one is going to come out. And here's my problem. Let me say this. Here's my problem. I have a major problem with 3,000 people getting away with being just as sinister as Diddy, just so you can lock Diddy up. Well, you ain't cleaning up the streets. You're not. If you get the leader, but you leave 13,000 of his soldiers in the streets is still dirty. I still got to hide, lock my doors, get 55 alarms and some cameras. Because the soldiers are still out there and they got the blueprint for the sinister behavior. Yes, they do. So everybody is so happy that public enemy number one is in the Metropolitan Detention Center, allegedly, but I'll move on from that, catch it if you caught it, that he's over there in the Metropolitan Detention Center and we all safe. So now what the prosecution is saying is, because Diddy is trying to get out on bail, they're using all of these lawsuits, these civil lawsuits. They're using these civil lawsuits to help their case. That's what they're doing. They help them. They saying, listen, in 2016, they saying that Diddy bribed that hotel. And because he's into bribing people and all of that, he deserves to not be out on bail. So you got a man that is so sinister, you should be able to come up with some current 2024 situations to say this is why you should not let this man out. Let me make one more connection for you. That's why Diddy's team got work to do. He himself said, because he did that apology video after the 2016 video of him beating Cassie came out. He did an apology video, and out of his own mouth, he said he was ashamed of that behavior. That's what Diddy said. He was ashamed of that behavior. He sought counseling. He went for help to become a better man. And I'm paraphrasing. That's what he said. Well, this is a little problematic, right? Because this young lady said this happened to her in 2018. When did he seek help? When? She said this happened to her in 2018. Come on, Paula. And then you got somebody that said in 2021. But you did that video and said that after. Almost positive he said after. After that 2016 video, he was ashamed of the behavior and all of that. And he got help. You got help, but this young lady is saying in 2018, you violated her. He got an uphill battle. It's going to be interesting how this pans out. And I want to also say this too. The prosecution, the one that everybody's saying they never lose, if you never lose, why aren't you giving this man's team the name of his accusers? Listen, if you could not knock me off my square, and I claim that I have a 99% winning rate, 99.999, I'm giving you names, I'm giving you details, I'm giving you videos, I'm giving you documents, and everybody want to say for their safety. If he was going to do something, there's civil suits out there that did not come out as a Jane Doe. We got to talk here, y'all. There's civil suits where the people name the names. Little Rodney did not come out as a John Doe, and Little Rodney had pictures. He said he got videos. He named names. Little Rodney came out blazing. If Diddy was going to do something to these individuals, he got some names he could start with. Those individuals are still walking around to this day. If Little Rodney was threatened, they should show the proof and then go to the judge and say, do not let him out. Don't go all the way back to the 2016 Cassie situation. Tell about the recent situation. Said Little Rodney in real time was threatened. We got to talk here. Let's break this thing down. We're not going to run with just the street stuff. Because sometimes people don't like to dig. I'm so in your dating in this stuff. I'm connecting dots in my sleep. And I got to be very, 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 very clear. I'm not saying nobody should get away with nothing. There's some sinister stuff being said about this man. And I always say, where there's smoke, there's fire. But I'm also saying that if you don't give someone the proper information to defend themselves, do you want it to be a mistrial? Let's not be silly here. And don't waste my government money. I don't want no mistrial. They have to give it, right? They have to give it. But let me tell you, that's right, Paul, they have to give it. Let me tell you this also, what's going on. What's going on, too, is they a little pissy mad. They pissy mad that Diddy's team said, we just need a week to get this thing done. And the prosecutor said they need 3 weeks. So it's also a puff in your chest game. It's a mess. But what they're not doing is fooling me. This is not NBC Law and Order SUV. What is it? SUV or SVU unit. This is not what we're doing here. This is real life. And you got to follow the rules, the laws, and all of that. You cannot come to me saying you arrested me because John Doe said I did something. Well, who is John Doe? Like, how am I going to tell you yay, nay, or maybe if I don't even know who John Doe is? We ain't telling you. Where they do that at? If somebody is accusing me of stealing their money, I need to know who it is. I need to know date, time, and place so I can defend myself and say, but they a lie because on that day, that time, that situation, I was over here. So it ain't me. But we're going to talk about it because we're going to get into this 62, 63 page lawsuit. We're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss how the young lady said she was pretty much in a house of horrors based on what happened to her. But somehow she went back to the house of horrors and she spent the night. This ain't Diva making this up. She went back to the house of horrors and she spent the night. So someone violates you with a remote. They try to put an IUD in you. They had several people violate you. You get out, you get away, you tell the cops, they don't help you. It's a whole hot mess. None of your body parts were bleeding. We're just talking here. We're going to talk this thing through. In some way, somehow, you find yourself going back to that house of horrors and you spent the night. What people got to understand is the court ain't for play. Whether you file a civil lawsuit When you signing documents on a dotted line, you attesting that it's the truth to the best of your knowledge. This is not for play. You can't be perjuring yourself, none of that. It's not a joke. And when you get up in that courtroom and you got the opposing side, the prosecutors may take it easy on you. They're gonna handle you with kitten gloves, so to speak. But honey, when that defense team, because they fighting for their client's life, when that defense team gets a hold of you, you got to get yourself together. You better be prepared, because they're going to ask you some hard questions. And you know, people, because I did the video today, people was like, oh, Diva, there's small remotes, there's this, that, and the other. Remotes have buttons. And all I'm saying is, if somebody's shoving a remote in you, there's no trauma, no blood. Because before they even did that, they tried to, according to her, put an IUD in her. There was no trauma, no. Listen, if you can handle the conversation, stay here. If you can't, you can't. But let me tell you this. When I go for my OBGYN appointment, come on, ladies, you know what I'm talking about. And they use the thing that I feel like they cranking you open so they can do your pap smear. I'm like, ouch. Calm down. Hold on. The doctor always told me, breathe, and relax. And she's doing it gently because she's the doctor. So you're trying to tell me they was trying to shove this IUD in you? Didn't work. Then they use a remote. And you got away and you was at a neighbor house. And because you didn't have a purse, a phone, your car keys, your car, whatever, you go back to get stuff. That's why I tell y'all all the time over here, don't get connected to stuff. I'm not connected to my car, my home. I love my home. I love when I go in my room, in my bed. It's my sanctuary. But if my house catch on fire, I'm leaving whether I got clothes on, clothes off, and I'm out. And I got a lot of memories in here. I got pictures, photo albums, you know, my degrees. I got stuff. And I like my stuff. But I like my life. So if the house catch on fire, I'm out. I ain't grabbing nothing. I ain't looking for my cell phone. I'm out the door. If I was violated in a house of horrors, I'm traumatized. There is no way on this earth I'm going back for a pocketbook or car keys. None of that. Don't be connected to stuff. Be connected to yourself, your life. You can always make more money, but I never seen nobody raise themselves from the dead. I haven't seen it. If you know about it, let me know the story, and I'll cover it on this channel. I've never seen anybody raise themselves from the dead. She said there was knives, there were pow-pows. She said all of that was there in this house of horror. She went back and her lawyer said, what would you do? Sis, I will walk down the highway with a t-shirt on, begging the next person to just take me to the hospital, give me money to go home, but I would not have turned around and went back to a house of horrors. I wouldn't have did it. And this ain't victim shaming. This is us breaking this thing down and letting the truth be the truth and nonsense be nonsense. You already went through a horrific situation. It really probably couldn't have got worse than that. Yeah, I would have been walking down the highway with a t-shirt on, begging for help before I went back to that house where the owner of the apartment or house or whatever is one of the people that allegedly violated me. We're going to talk tonight. If you're ready to talk, let's talk. Y'all ready to get into this? We're going to get into it. It may be a rough night. This thing is 63 pages. But every time I break down a lawsuit for y'all, I keep it 100. And I ain't asking nobody to agree with me. It's me breaking it down and telling y'all. I told you Thalia, 48 hours later, she came out a whole lie. I told you about this Andrea, the Peace Star, who she said he tried to do this, that, but she kept going forward. She went past go. It just don't make sense. We're going to break this thing down. I'm going to go ahead and bring the people on in the building. Hold on one second, y'all. Y'all know what I need in the chat to bring the people in the building. I need a what, y'all? I need a choo-choo. All aboard, everybody. It is Thursday night. Trending topics. Can't stop, won't stop. Diddy is hit with a $50 million lawsuit. And she said, I'm saying my name. And her name is Ashley. And it's a 62-page document where, honey, this is bigger than any Lifetime movie I ever watched. Because she's saying the undercover cop was involved and violated her also. This is messy. We're going to bring the people on in the building. Wayne, I don't know if you want your camera on, but turn it off because you usually have it off. I'm ready to bring the people on in the building. Hey, Katrina.
Hey, Diva. Hey, chat. Choo, choo, choo.
Choo, choo. Hey, Felicia. Hey, Dustin. Okay, Wayne, you got to turn that camera off because I know you usually don't have it on before I bring you in, but when you're ready, I will bring you in. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, okay, Wayne, you ready? Tell me, you turn the camera off and I'll bring you in because I know you usually don't have your camera on. Okay, so before we get started, I want to do some reminders for the people and some of the not reminders, I'm gonna play some videos of the accuser's lawyers speaking to News Nation. So, and before we get into the actual lawsuit, so hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Okay, this is the first one I want to play.
So let's go back. He would be the third person to rape her. This is vaginal, not anal. And she decided not to name him when she decided to keep Diddy out of these subsequent police reports because she feared that Diddy could have a grave effect on her life. She didn't mention donor number. It's not in the complaint. I'm not sure if it's a mistake. In the complaint, she just talks about Shane and I believe KK, but doesn't mention Doe number one. It stood out to me because I thought Doe number one was the one who said he was an undercover cop, and no undercover cop would ever take part in a gang rape, you know?
I don't know if you know too many undercover cops, and they pretty much do anything when they are infiltrating a mob or a mafia. I'm sure you probably heard stories of other undercover cops who engaged in murder.
Okay, I'll give you that. Let's say he did.
Otherwise,
Ariel?
Yes.
I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that. Let's say this guy who identified himself as an undercover cop, and maybe he was and maybe he wasn't, did take part in the attack. Why didn't she name him to the subsequent policing agencies, the Walnut Creek, and then I'm trying to remember what the last one was. There was a third agency that she reported and decided to withhold Diddy's. Yeah, Orinda. She didn't name to Walnut Creek or Orinda Doe number one, but he was clearly in her complaint part of the rape.
So she didn't name anybody who was a part of Diddy's entourage. She didn't name KK. She didn't name the other Jane Doe. So she literally omitted everybody who was a part of Diddy's entourage who showed up that day, the getaway driver. So it doesn't not make sense to me. It makes complete sense. She omitted all of them out of the group. Because then to bring in
no, here I'm going to read it for you, Ariel. Sorry, I just found it again. Plaintiff only told Walnut Creek police about the assault from defendants Shane and Doe number 2. That's from the complaint. I'm just taking her words and your words.
No, I'm not. I just said she omitted all of the individuals who showed up with Diddy. She omitted defendant KK. She omitted the defendant who's listed as a Jane Doe, and she also omitted.
But they didn't rape her.
Doe 1. Yes.
According to her, she was raped by Doe number 1, and she was not reported to the police, despite the fact that he was one of the rapists.
We're having a disconnect right here because I'm trying to explain to you. To me, it makes sense, and her explanation makes sense because she didn't mention anybody. She didn't mention anybody from Diddy's camp. She didn't mention Doe 1. She didn't mention Diddy. She didn't mention anybody.
No, she did.
To the police.
Your complaint 100% says, I'm reading your words. Plaintiff told Walnut Creek police about the assault from defendants Shane and Doe number 2, but it doesn't mention Doe number 1, and I just don't know why. I understand why she's omitting Diddy if she fears reprisal, but no mention of Doe number 1.
So if you want me to bring you some insight, I'm trying to do that. Because to talk about Doe number 1 is to talk about Diddy. To talk about defendant KK is to talk about Diddy. To talk about the Jane Doe is to bring up Diddy. So it's no way she could bring up Doe number 1 without it leading back to Diddy in some way, shape, or form. So, because that was a person who came with Diddy, who came to the to the house, ready to party.
And she mentions Doe number 2 and Shane. Okay, listen, I have one more big important question for you, Ariel, and I'm very appreciative that and I have to ask hard questions because, you know, when there are so many accusations, I have to do this, and I'll tell you, I'm nothing compared to Diddy's lawyer. He's hiring his dream team, and you know that every, comma is going to get picked apart. When we come back, though, I do want to ask you about this issue. After allegations that she was gang raped and drugged, involved in a knife fight, had knifed Diddy, was shot at. Why did the accuser decide to go back to the scene of the actual crime that she did?
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
So she goes back to the scene. I have one more thing I need to show you. Storm Radio, welcome in the building. Give me a minute, and I'll come to you. You're new to us. Hold on one second. Let me just share this other half.
They are jaw-dropping allegations. A woman says she was gang raped by P. Diddy and his entourage and drugged as well more than 6 years ago in California. Ashley Parham says the terrifying evening involved a knife fight with Diddy in which she grazed him and being shot at before she could escape with her life. So the big question is why, after she finally escaped this harrowing ordeal, why did she go back to the scene of the crime and then spend the night there? It is part of a brand new lawsuit filed just hours ago against Sean Diddy Combs. I'm joined once again by the accuser's attorney, Ariel Mitchell. Ariel, you're just great to stay with me over 3 blocks. I really appreciate this. Friend of the show, too, I might add. So when I'm tough as a journalist, it's certainly not personal. You know that. That is a huge question. And you just know opposing counsel is going to come at you saying all these horrific things. Literally, she lived a movie, a horror movie. And then after the police leave down the block, she decides to go back to the apartment, let herself in, and then stayed the night. How do you explain that?
So first off,
hold on, guys. Catch the words. This is not Diva doing 20 on 10. This woman said she goes back, lets herself in. We're talking here. Let's go.
I want to tell you, you asked the question that I asked. I said to her the exact same thing. What made you go back? And I knew in my mind, because I've dealt with so many victims, they're really not thinking clearly. And she said, Ariel, I knew you would say that. I knew you would ask me, why did I go back? And she said, honestly, I don't even have a good explanation. All I know is I just really wasn't there. I had on a t-shirt. I was at some strange man's house, the neighbor's house, that she didn't know. She just thought she could go get her. She had no purse. She had no keys. She had no cell phone. What was she supposed to do? And she was like, I figured maybe since they left, I could at least go try and get my stuff back. And she said, honestly, I've asked myself that many a times. I know this is probably going to come up to everybody, like, because any person like you and me sitting here logically, not in that situation, not having experienced that, we can sit here and judge all day and say, well, I wouldn't have done that, or that doesn't make any sense. But none of us know what we would do until we were in a similar situation. So I've been in situations where I profess, oh, it's no way if I was in this situation, I wouldn't do X, Y, and Z. And then the minute I got in that situation, I did not do any of those things. So I do agree that that was a question. I do agree to a person who's like us, who's not dealing with that or has not experienced something like that. They would say, oh, I wouldn't have gone back. But what would you have done? You have no clothes. You have no means of getting anywhere, no purse. Your car's there, no car keys, no cell phone. And your help, the police, seemingly left you. What other option would
if it goes,
you have?
if it goes to a jury, it's a good question. If it goes to the jury, it's going to be the reasonable mind of each juror who would make that decision. Ariel, like I said, I'm super appreciative that you spent this much time and that you helped us sort of navigate through the complaint. And I look forward to, I think we're going to be talking a lot more as this continues to go through the courts, this one and others. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Whew. So there's a lot there, right? And stuff we have to kind of talk about and discuss. So Storm Radio, we are about to go through this 63-page document, but you're new in the building. I figured you came through, you wanted to say something. I want to give you an opportunity to speak because the rest of the people on the panel are my regular panelists. So let's hear from you.
Well, excuse me, my board here. Give me one moment.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Okay, sounds good. I'll come back to you. Ricky B. Star, I'm about to bring you in the building. Hold on one second. Ricky B. Star, I see you there. You're new to us.
Hello.
Before I start to go through the document, your thing is in the feedback. You may need to go up. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good.
What did you want to say before we begin to go through this 63-page document?
Diva, I've just been following you for a while, but I basically want to say that it's just too much, and it's like overwhelming. And it's like anybody can say, well, I did this or Diva did that. Like, it seems like nonsense and a money grab for some people. Not all people, because some people may be victims.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like a bunch of nonsense to me. That's my thought on it. I mean, I don't think that Diddy had to just go out and do the things, they say he did because he had the power and the money. And I would say to some extent, the respect. Money, power, respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally, in my opinion, I mean, for God's sakes, he had J-Lo, so I'm not saying she's like the queen bee, but I don't think he had to go around and do that to 3,000 people. It's just my opinion. I think at some point it becomes nonsense.
I think there are some true victims out there. I do want to say that. There definitely are. And listen, allegedly J-Lo was in some of the freak off videos. We don't know, but thank you for your comment. Storm Radio, are you ready to speak? You're muted.
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. I've been following this a whole lot for a few reasons because when he used to do parties in the Hamptons, I been to one or two doing production work. And outside of that, I used to go to a church in Jamaica, Queens, that he would frequent every now and then with Bishop Boyd and Prophetess Juanita Bynum.
Thanks for coming through. Okay.
You're welcome. So, everybody have their opinion about what's true and what's not true. Here's what I can say equally on both parts.
Mhm.
You have victims that are victims, but yet victims that were looking for bags in the beginning. What they in
Talk.
turn got was not what they wanted and not fair to them. But
Mhm.
let's be downright honest here. I've been in the broadcast industry for 45 years. I
Okay.
own five radio stations that are all on iHeartMedia.
Beautiful.
And so I can tell you personally that people look for opportunities to get their music on the radio, to get their music done in the studio and get it distributed by labels. And post 2000, or not post, but prior to 2000, it was very hard to get in the industry. Actually, we can go back to the 80s when Luke Skywalker, Uncle Luke, uh, and then Master P started doing things independently because of the gatekeepers. So everybody, male, female, boy, and girl, was looking for opportunities to rub shoulders and get into the industry. They did not know what they were walking into. So at some point, we need to start speaking for things the way it really is. And
Mhm.
that is people were being opportunists, and opportunists got caught at their opportunity of getting opportunity.
Mm.
You follow me what I'm saying?
I'm following you 100%. I call it you sold yourself to the devil and now you want to ask us for a refund.
Exactly. You can't sell your soul and want a refund. It don't work that way.
Mm-mm.
In fact, the only refund you can probably get is the one that you do with Christ, because you have an
Oh,
opportunity to join him and you have an opportunity not. But with Satan, it's forever.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
It's forever. And
Mm-hmm.
so you got to understand. Now, I could have done a whole lot of things to become successful in this business, but I did not and would not. So I struggled the hard way, like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day, to this moment that I'm speaking, it's that way, but proudly so. Now, so if you take the short road and things happen to you, what do you expect? Just like the attorney was just saying on on the screen, you know, somewhat I was looking at her body language, and I didn't see quite uh comfortability in what she was saying. So I have a problem with what she was saying because of her body language. Now, that doesn't change the facts of the suit, but I'm just saying her expression of her client didn't look very, very well in that interview there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, young ladies, young men, if you want to get into the industry, you got to fight hard on your own merit and stop thinking that someone can acquire a bag for you or you can get a bag by suing, because the outcome of that may be your life or your health.
You better talk. Talk to the people.
This is the truth. And this is what I'm getting sick of people not addressing. This needs to address. Okay, you want to be a rapper. In order to be a rapper, three prior things takes place wanting to be a rapper. You
Mm-hmm.
got to thug and do drugs.
Mm.
You got to get violent or become part of a gang. And
Mm.
third, that money that you gained, you're gonna have to give it back to the popo at some time.
Mm.
Facts. So do we think that this thing with the diddler is uncommon? No. Point at hand. Why is it that anyone hasn't heard from Al Sharpton?
Oh. Okay.
Let me get closer to the camera.
All right. Well,
Why
talk to me because I'm trying to connect here. Go ahead, talk.
why do you think no one has heard from Al Sharpton?
For the victims,
Victims or Diddy?
talk to me.
Because he was there from day one. If y'all do your research, you will find Kamala Harris, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Donald Trump, all of them have been to Diddy parties. Go back and look through the history of pictures. You'll see them.
Wait, but hold on, Storm, because I'm about to pass out over here. Hold on now. But can we come to some agreement that the parties, the whole party wasn't all sinister?
Okay, let me wake you up,
Okay.
Diva.
Okay.
Are you a soror?
No.
Okay. Anyone here that is a member of the Divine Nine knows that there's certain groups of the Divine Nine that the females are quite lucratively active in said parties like that. Kamala is what? A AKA. Diddy used to have parties where? At Howard. That's how they know each other. People are not talking about it. They're killing Diddy, but they failed to add the one person that knows a whole lot, Kamala, in the whole fray of things. They failed to talk about the one person that knows a whole lot, Al Sharpton, in the fray of things. Now, if anybody want to put blame somewhere, why aren't they talking about what they know? Why are they not speaking? Why is everybody else speaking and not them? See, ain't nobody gonna want to tell the truth. Well, excuse me. Let me correct that. That's too broad of a statement. There are some people with power that don't want to tell the truth.
Well, I'm gonna X out all of those people, individuals that you are talking about. I don't believe they were regulars at these parties and these freak offs or all of that. I think many people have been at a Diddy party. We could probably name everybody from A to Z that has been at a Diddy party. Don't mean they was part of a freak off. Don't mean they knew all the sinister things that were going on. Don't mean they participated at the level of which Diddy is being accused of at this particular moment. We have seen the pictures of many people being at these parties. Listen, at his 50th birthday party, the man is 54 now. At his 50th birthday party, when Stevie J showed us the video, everybody and anybody in Hollywood and everywhere in between were there. That does not mean that these individuals knew everything that was going on and all the sinister stuff that Diddy was doing. I want to reserve and hold back on our current VP that is running for president, and just because maybe she had found herself at a Diddy party, she has known or seen some things, and Al Sharpton and all of them. I rather focus on what we know so far that is not, maybe I like to call them the breadcrumbs, the urban rumors, or whatever. And with that being said, all I'm saying is I don't believe that Diddy is 100% innocent. I believe where there's smoke, there is fire. But what I do believe also is right now, they want him so bad that they're railroading this thing by throwing out all of this other stuff. And as the entity of the feds, you should stick to the facts. One, just legally, no matter who you are, he has the right to have the names of the people that is allegedly accusing him of this sinister behavior. In addition to that, I believe that unless you got some clear facts as to why I cannot have bail, he has the right to have a bail, right? Because if he was going to be a flight risk and really go somewhere, he would have went already. He knew they raided his house in March. According to his own lawyer, the lawyer said, I already told Diddy, it's not a matter of if, but when they're going to indict you. If he was going to run, he could have ran already because he has his own jet. And the day they raided him, I believe that after they raided his homes. And when they came to the airport, he still went on vacation with the girl. So if they thought he was such a flight risk, Why did they let him go on vacation that day with his daughters? So my thing is, they need to tighten this thing up. I'm not asleep on this thing. I see the missing pieces and the missing links and what's not added up here. I think that this is going to be the trial of the century when this thing happens in March. And I do believe we got a mix of victims and people putting 2110 because they felt since Cassie got her big payday, they're thinking they're going to get their big payday. Cassie had a history of 10 years of abuse, according to her. Where this woman right here, she's talking about an incident. And for an incident, she wants almost more money than what Cassie allegedly got. She's suing for $50 million. Everybody is naming bodyguards, but nobody wants to put a name to said bodyguards. So there's a lot going on here. I'm going to say this. Thank you for coming through, Storm. I need to, because it's running late, I need to start to go through this 63, 62 page document. So, I can just break this down for everybody. I appreciate you coming through. Thank you. And congratulations on your stations and being in the industry so long and, all that you own. That's a beautiful thing. So I congratulate you on that. And thank you for being new to the channel, coming through and giving us your thoughts on the whole situation. So with that being said, guys, any closing remarks? Because I do want to go ahead and get into this lawsuit for my
No, I just wanted to say, David, very quick.
Wait, Justin, give me a minute, babe. Justin, please give me a minute.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Mute yourself. Okay. Any thing else you want to say, Storm, before I just start to go through my lawsuit?
Yeah, so I'd like to clarify. I mentioned all of them because all of them participated. This was not a hit against the running candidate for presidency. Right. Neither one of them at all. It's just the facts is what the facts was, and those were facts because I know they were there personally. So, and there's more people besides me. So that's not a accusation. That is a fact, and I would not say it unless it's a fact, and it's a fact. That they
got you, Storm. Well, what, Storm, though, you say they were there, but just like you were there, I'm going to make the assumption you didn't participate in no FO, right? So,
absolutely not.
Right. So,
no, I don't disagree with what you was most of what you were saying. I'm just saying this is not a hit or a challenge against anybody running for office. I'm just saying these are names that were there, and yet I said it to open the eyes of something. Just because they were there don't mean that they did anything wrong in the freak off. It's just the fact that they were there.
Understood. But just as you was there innocently, they could have been there innocently also. So I got you. So let me just
that was my point.
Yeah, got you. Okay, so let me go ahead. We're going to go ahead and let me share a screen now with everybody. And we'll go through this document. Okay. So Ashley's lawyers are this Sean R. Perez and the law Nevada Bar law offices of Sean R. Perez, and then also this Ariel Mitchell. And the videos that I played, that was Ariel Mitchell. Now, just to give you a little context, Ariel Mitchell was the lawyer for another one of Diddy accusers. Her name was Andrea, why is her last name escaping me right now? But her name was Andrea. She was the lawsuit that she was an XP star who said, Diddy didn't pay her, he ST'd her, and all of that stuff. So they are giving us a trigger warning. I just want to warn everybody ahead of time. Trigger warning: this document contains highly graphic information of sexual nature, including allegations of R, SA, S battery, kidnapping, and ST. So the indictment, remember, they're giving him RICO charges. They're saying he was that he participated in ST. So here's a connection with her lawsuit. They're also, now she adds the kidnapping. So it's a lot going on here. So let me come down. So plaintiff Ashley, who decided not to go as a Jane Doe, files a complaint against defendants Sean Combs Diddy, Christina was his house manager, so to speak, and he had put a post way back saying that Christina knows how to get things done. You got Shane Shane is an individual you're going to learn later on down in this case that in whose home she went to and whose home she said this happened at. You got John Doe's 1 through 3, because remember in this she's saying that she was GR'd. You got a Jane Doe, and together defendants alleged as follows. The case involves SA, battery, RSA, false imprisonment, and kidnapping. Defendant Diddy has been sued by countless individuals for crimes similar to ones that this client is bringing forth. Defendant Diddy is currently a federal inmate awaiting criminal charges for similar crimes to the ones in this complaint. Defendant KK is an employee of defendant Diddy, often referred to by defendant Diddy as his right-hand woman. To my understanding, Christina has quit. Christina is no longer his employee. So should have said was, but anyway, Christina, and there's pictures, and I can show them later of Diddy and Christina. Defendant Diddy's predatory behavior was constant and was very well known by several individuals, including Diddy's the defendant Diddy employees, staff, friends, family, and associates. In fact, defendant Diddy's sons are being sued for engaging in this the same type of deviant behavior as their father, as pled in Los Angeles Superior Court filing. To my knowledge, the only one that is being accused of similar behavior to Diddy is Christian King Combs. I didn't know of any other son that is being accused of similar crimes, but if you need to remind me, you can remind me in the chat. Don't forget, people, hit the like button. So defendant Diddy was able to do these crimes and evade capture and prosecution for crimes for almost 30 years due to his position of power and influence in the entertainment industry. Defendant Diddy exploited his position in his relationship with powerful individuals to force acts through exploitation, fear, manipulation, physical threats, emotional abuse, intimidation, and retaliation. Had any of the previous victims of defendant Diddy been taken seriously, or had any of their abettors, like defendants KK, Shane, Doe's 1 through 3, or Jane Doe, reported defendant Diddy's actions to law enforcement, defendant Diddy's illegal and unfathomable behavior could have been prevented. Instead, defendant Diddy was able to rain his abuse and terrorism on countless victims for over 30 years. And that is why, to me, they need to get some of these individuals also need to be charged. Additionally, had defendant Diddy's numerous business partners and associates not ignored defendant Diddy's deviant behavior, defendant Diddy would have been unable to continue his pattern of abuse over such a long period of time. As alleged herein, defendant Diddy abused his position of power in the entertainment industry to garner loyalty from the public at large and law enforcement, while instilling fear and intimidation in the hearts of luminous victims. Allegations against defendant Diddy have been disregarded for decades, therefore creating a failure to protect victims like plaintiff herein. I'm sorry, guys. Additionally, okay. Unlike most victims of defendant Diddy, who were employees, workers, or individuals seeking out defendant to help launch their careers, plaintiff does not fall into any of these categories. Plaintiff met defendant Diddy due to a happenstance and still ended up being brutally victimized in a similar manner as described by others who have preceded their filings, and others who surely will follow after her filing. Due to the defendant's agreement to participate in a corrupt enterprise, plaintiff and countless other victims have been immeasurably and permanently harmed. Plaintiff alleges as follows upon personal knowledge as to themselves and their own acts and experience, and as to all other matters upon information believed, including investigations conducted by their attorneys. Plaintiff Ashley is an individual who resides in California. Defendant Sean Diddy Combs is an individual who resides in California. Defendant also owns a residence in Florida. Defendant Christina is an individual who, upon information believed, resides in California. Defendant Shane is an individual who resides in California. Defendants John Doe 1 through 3 are individuals upon information and belief reside in California. Defendant Jane Doe is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in California. So she's saying this incident happened in California. Then you have jurisdiction, venue, timeliness, and California's SA and Cover Up Accountability Act. Okay, this court has personal jurisdiction over all defendants because they have purposely availed themselves as residents of the state and were conducting business in California. And this lawsuit arises out of acts that occurred in California and relates to their contacts with California. Further, the pervasive culture of abuse, including SAR, inappropriate touching, and wielding power and control over plaintiff, was a constant present when defendant Diddy and the other herein named defendants engaged in the acts described herein. The location of all events herein occurred within the jurisdiction of California. Plaintiff was harmed and injured in California by defendants. Venue is proper in this jurisdiction. This action is timely under the Federal Racketeering, Influence, and Corruption Organization Act. Okay, so as the Diddy SA and cover-up enterprise fraudulently concealed the ongoing sexual and deceitful activities, torts, and conspiracy taking place within the Diddy SA and cover-up and enterprise. So this is going to help the prosecution with their RICO charges. This action is also timely under California's SA and Cover Up Accountability Act, California's SA and Cover Up Accountability Act amended, California Civil Procedure Section 340.16, extending the statute of limitations, opening up revival windows for adult survivors of SA and related crimes, and acknowledging that a 2-year statute of limitations simply does not provide SA survivors adequate time to heal from the physical and emotional trauma of SA and prepare for a civil case. And then, they give some more definitions there. Defendants' fraudulent concealment through the active attempts of cover-up caused the ongoing trauma plaintiff suffers. Plaintiff had repressed her experience until recently when Diddy was accused by his ex-girlfriend, former employee, Cassie Ventura, and others regarding their experience with defendant Diddy. Accusing the civil justice system allows victim survivors an opportunity to seek accountability for the years of suffering caused by the abuse they experienced and the chance to take back the power they lost as a result of SA. So many victims have said this, that they kind of suppressed what happened to them, but once Cassie came out, it reminded them of their own experience, and her courage gave them the courage to speak up. Additionally, any statute of limitations applicable to the below claims, if any, is told, and defendants are estopped from raising such a defense as their actions described below, deprive plaintiff of the opportunity to commence this lawsuit before now, as well as other equitable and legal basis. Factual allegations common to all counts. Plaintiff met defendant Shane in February 2018 after an altercation with another man at a bar, and defendant Shane came to plaintiff's rescue. So stay connected. She meets Shane at a situation. He kind of came to save her. While outside the bar with friends and other patrons, defendant Shane FaceTime video called defendant Diddy and was showing people defendant Diddy in the video on his phone, attempting to impress the people with his famous friend. Defendant Shane then showed plaintiff Diddy on his video call, which plaintiff ignored, stating she was not impressed by him knowing defendant Diddy because she believed defendant Diddy has something to do with the unaliving of rapper Tupac Shakur. Visible in the FaceTime call was defendant Diddy and some of his children, including his sons Christian and Quincy. It appeared from the plaintiff's perspective, Diddy was having a get-together at his home during the time of the FaceTime call with defendant Shane. Defendant Diddy heard plaintiff's statement and made a remark that plaintiff would pay for her statement regarding Tupac and overall dismissal of defendant Diddy. On March 23rd, 2018, defendant Shane invited plaintiff over to his home to assist him with his cancer medications because he stated he was weak and unable to open his medications. Upon plaintiff's arrival, defendant Shane informed plaintiff that he wanted to give her a ride in his new car. Plaintiff and defendant Shane left his residence for a brief period and then returned. So listen to this, y'all. I'm just trying to keep y'all connected. This man said, can you come over because he's too weak to open his cancer medication. But then when she gets there, he says, let's ride in my new car. So he can drive, turn the steering wheel, and do all of that, but he couldn't open his cancer medication. Let's continue. Once they returned, defendant Shane left the door to his apartment partially open and stated that the door was ajar because there was an issue with the door where it couldn't close completely. I just wonder, when she got there, was the door partially open or was it closed? Defendant Shane, because listen, these are the questions that the defense is going to ask her. Defendant Shane was renting an apartment on the lower floor of the home in Orinda, California. Defendant Shane had a separate interest to his residence that led to the backyard of the home. The home also had a main interest on Loma Vista Drive. Defendant Shane rented the home from a woman who lived in the upstairs portion of the home and had 2 dogs who reside with her. Plaintiff and defendant Shane then began to watch a movie, and defendant Shane offered her a glass of water, which he retrieved and brought back to the plaintiff. Approximately 10 minutes after plaintiff and defendant Shane returned from their drive, defendant Diddy entered defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy entered the home in a grand, ready-to-party manner. His grandiose entrance was so loud that the dogs upstairs began barking. Defendant Diddy did not enter the home through the backyard entrance, but instead through the main entrance. Along with defendant Diddy were his bodyguard, defendant Doe 1, a woman who plaintiff later identified as KK, Christina. Another woman, small, skinny build, early 30s, with blonde, mid-length hair, who plaintiff has still been unable to identify, Jane Doe. Defendant Doe 2, who upon information and belief is a friend of the defendants, Shane and Diddy, and defendant Diddy's driver, Doe 3, who remained outside and in his vehicle during the duration of the plaintiff's assault. Plaintiff believes defendant Shane invited her over to set her up to be assaulted by defendant Diddy because of the statement she made about defendant Diddy a month prior. Upon Diddy's arrival, he immediately began to antagonize the plaintiff, stating that she thought she would never see him in person, paid for her statements about Tupac during the video call, and that defendant Diddy caught plaintiff. Plaintiff, in shock, as she never believed she would ever see or meet Diddy in real life, let alone in a small apartment rented by the defendant Shane. But I thought it was like a house and somebody he rented out upstairs, and there's a backyard and there's a separate interest. Are we connected here? Defendant Diddy then began advancing towards where plaintiff was sitting on defendant Shane's bed. So now they're in the bedroom with a knife and held it to the right side of plaintiff's face and threatened to give her a glass glow smile in retaliation for her previous statements on the video call. Defendant KK told defendant Diddy that she didn't think giving a plaintiff a glass glow smile would be advantageous to their potential clients who they could sell plaintiff to for sex. Defendant KK then made a threat to plaintiff that they could ship her off anywhere in the world and that she would never be seen by her family or anyone ever again. Defendant Shane then partially undressed plaintiff. Then defendant Diddy removed the remainder of plaintiff's clothes, removing the knife from her face, and then retrieved a bottle of liquid from a large fanny pack. Defendant Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid on plaintiff, which placed her in fear that she was being squirted with a chemical substance like acid. Plaintiff soon realized the substance was an oil lubricant. Plaintiff was squirted with the liquid substance over the entirety of her naked body. Defendant KK was then told by defendant Diddy to insert what looked like a syringe from a sterile packaging into plaintiff's private area. Defendant KK did as told and then told defendant Diddy that she was unable to use the IUD because it had permanently been released from its packaging. It had prematurely been released from its packaging. Defendant Diddy, upset by this, took the syringe from defendant KK and tried inserting it into the plaintiff's private area instead. Defendant KK and Diddy began to argue as defendant KK continued to advise Diddy that since the IUD had been prematurely released from its... Felicia, do you want to jump in? From its packaging. I don't know if she's still there.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. From its packaging, it was no way they could insert it into plaintiff's vajayjay effectively. After some time, the defendant Diddy heeded the advice of defendant KK and removed the syringe from plaintiff's vajayjay and handed it to defendant KK. Defendants KK and Jane Doe then exited defendant Shane's residence, leaving plaintiff alone with defendants Diddy, Shane, Doe's 1 and 2. Diva, I'm a little confused. Is Doe 1 and 2 the bodyguard and the driver? What are we talking about here?
The driver stayed in the car. But one of the Does is a female that she couldn't identify.
Okay. Defendant Diddy then picked up a television remote that was near plaintiff and violently inserted it into plaintiff's vajayjay. Defendant Diddy, while violently R-ing plaintiff with a television remote, told plaintiff that her life was in his hands and that if he wanted, he could, quote, take her and she would never be seen again. Plaintiff began hysterically crying from the threats by defendant Diddy, along with the pain of being violently vajayjay'd by defendant Diddy with the television remote, as well as the lingering pain from the ordeal with the IUD syringe insertion. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to turn plaintiff on her stomach, seemingly tired of hearing the plaintiff's blood-curdling cries. Defendant Shane then grabbed plaintiff by her abdomen and hips and turned plaintiff on her stomach. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to put a pillow over her head because he didn't want to see her face or hear her cries, and instructed defendant Shane to backdoor the plaintiff. Defendant Shane did as he was told by defendant Diddy and began to backdoor the plaintiff. I'm confused because what's the pillow for? I'm just confused. Okay. Defendant Diddy then violently R-ed plaintiff backdoor after defendant Shane. Defendant Doe 2 then joined defendants Diddy and Shane, taking turns R-ing plaintiff. Immediately after defendant Doe 2 R-ed plaintiff, he exited defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Doe 1 to also R plaintiff. Instead of immediately R-ing plaintiff, defendant Doe 1 doused plaintiff with more oil lubricant and then jumped on top of plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of plaintiff due to his large size. Defendant Doe 1 then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed, and then he began R-ing plaintiff vajayjay. While defendant Doe 1 was R-ing plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began self-pleasuring while recording plaintiff's R by defendant Doe 1. Another party's phone fell on the bed near plaintiff. Plaintiff then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil lubricant that had been doused all over her person by defendants Diddy and Doe 1. Defendant Diddy began laughing at plaintiff's attempt to grab the phone. Throughout this violent gangbang-style R, defendant Diddy made a constant belittling remark to plaintiff, including that he, quote, owned her now. Plaintiff's body was becoming more and more limp over the course of the violent R-ing until eventually she had no control over her body, nor could she move her body. When defendant Doe finished R-ing plaintiff, defendant KK entered the room to examine the condition of plaintiff, who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Defendant KK examined plaintiff to see if she needed assistance and was about to give plaintiff an IV fluid. Oh boy. Plaintiff cannot be certain if she did or did not receive such intravenous intervention. Defendant KK then opened a different bag, different than the one defendant Diddy removed the oil from, where plaintiff observed several medicine bottles, IV fluid bags, and other identifiable powder-like Uggs. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bottles and gave it to defendant Diddy. Defendant Diddy then inserted the pill into plaintiff's mouth and down her throat to where plaintiff had no choice but to ingest the unknown pill.
Hold on 1 second, Felicia. This is the first lawsuit where we heard that somebody was actually forced to take these substances.
No, I think April Lampro said she was forced when she went to the house.
Okay.
She claimed she and Kim were both forced.
Okay, but this one actually says, I never seen nobody say they put it down the throat. We was forced to take them. I never seen that they put it down the throat. But you know what? I'm wondering, is this KK some type of medical field something?
I don't know.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Defendants Diddy, Shane, KK, and Doe 1 then exited the residence to the backyard where they smoked weed and cigarettes. Plaintiff remained in an almost lifeless state in defendant Shane's bedroom until she finally regained her bodily functions. Plaintiff then began looking for her clothes and her purse that contained her car keys and cell phone, but could not discover them in the room or anywhere in the apartment. Plaintiff was only able to find a t-shirt on the floor, which she put on to cover her naked body. Plaintiff also observed a black condom wrapper on the floor of the bedroom, which she assumed was used by one of the defendants, most likely defendant Diddy, during the R-ing. Plaintiff then grabbed a knife from the kitchen and headed to the backyard where the defendants were smoking, as that was the only way to exit the premises onto the street. Okay, I thought there was another entrance. Okay.
I thought it was the door that was left open.
Correct.
Well, go ahead.
Plaintiff concealed the knife on her left side as she exited the apartment to the backyard area. Upon coming to the exit of the home, which led to the backyard, plaintiff was met by defendant Doe 1, who was standing at the door between the residence and the backyard. By the time plaintiff was able to compose herself and come to the backyard, defendant KK was no longer in the backyard, but upstairs on the patio balcony with defendant Jane Doe. Defendant Doe 1 allowed plaintiff to walk to the backyard where defendants Shane and Diddy were still smoking. Defendant Doe 1 did not see the knife that plaintiff concealed on her left side, as it was obstructed by the oversized t-shirt plaintiff was wearing. Plaintiff observed defendant Diddy still partially nude from the assault, while defendant Shane and Doe 1 had on their clothing. Defendant Shane then left to the upstairs portion of the patio balcony where defendants KK and Jane Doe were already situated. Plaintiff then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard when defendant Diddy noticed her presence and remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her, quote, enough drugs to take out a horse, close quote. Plaintiff then asked defendant Diddy what he gave her, and he laughed and did not provide a response. Defendant Diddy then made further comments to plaintiff's jovial, friendly manner, asking her why they hadn't, quote, partied together because it was so much fun and he hadn't had any that tight in a while. Defendant Doe 1 then quipped at defendant Diddy that he probably hadn't had any that tight because he's not used to having X with women, which defendants Diddy and Doe 1 laughed at. Plaintiff then told defendant Diddy she did not party with him and she did not enjoy partying with him and that he had art her. Defendant Diddy did not like plaintiff's response to his lighthearted commentary and offered plaintiff money and instructed plaintiff to say that the violent R-ing was consensual and that plaintiff was an ex-worker. Plaintiff became enraged and yelled at defendant Diddy that her R-ing was not consensual, she was not an ex-worker, and she refused to take any money from him and would tell the police that he art her. Defendant Diddy then told plaintiff no one would ever believe she had been art by him, and if she did tell anyone, that they would harm her family. Defendant Doe 1 then showed plaintiff his phone, which looked as if it was the outside of plaintiff's estranged sister's. I got to start again. Defendant Doe 1 then showed plaintiff his phone, which looked as if it was the outside of plaintiff's estranged sister's residence, as she could see her sister sitting on the couch and her sister's spouse on the balcony. It looked as if someone was outside the residence streaming this video to defendant Doe 1's phone. Plaintiff, while rattled by what she was seeing on defendant 1's phone, was still angry about being gang-ard and was not complying with defendant Diddy's request to take the money being offered to say the R-ing was consensual. Defendant Diddy then called his mother in an effort to further convince plaintiff not to report her assault. Defendant Diddy's mother yelled at plaintiff to not hurt her son. Plaintiff told defendant Diddy's mother that her son had violently R-ed plaintiff. Defendant Diddy's mother, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with plaintiff to take the money being offered and not report the R-ing to law enforcement. Defendant Diddy then made further threats that he had gotten off from bigger crimes than this and referred to Tupac again, further antagonizing plaintiff. Defendant Doe 1 then turned to defendant Diddy and pulled his pow-pow on him, asking him to repeat what he said in reference to Tupac. As the two of them were exchanging words, plaintiff went behind defendant Doe 1, where he seemingly began to protect plaintiff. Defendant Doe 1 then advanced to defendant Diddy, questioning him over the comments he made about Tupac. During this commotion, a neighbor directly across the street came outside, peered into the backyard, and asked what all the commotion was about. Defendant Doe 1 then pointed the pow-pow at the neighbor and instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. Defendant Doe 1 then turned the pow-pow back on defendant Diddy. Plaintiff, not far behind defendant Doe 1, tried to grab defendant Doe 1's hand that had the pow-pow. The pow-pow then went off and hit a hill behind defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy then ran up the back stone steps near the hill in the backyard towards where defendants KK, Shane, and Jane Doe were. Plaintiff charged towards defendant Diddy, moving the concealed knife from her left hand to her right hand in pursuit of defendant Diddy. Plaintiff then pushed defendant Diddy from behind while on the stone stairs outside, causing him to fall with his back to plaintiff. Plaintiff then raised the knife in a rage from the events that just transpired and with the intent of driving the knife into defendant Diddy's back when he turned around and began pleading for his life. Plaintiff, shocked now to see defendant Diddy acting as a victim, had a moment of clarity and then turned and ran down the outdoor stone staircase back out to the backyard to escape. Defendant Diddy then chased plaintiff down the stairs and attempted to push her, but she was already at the bottom of the stairs and gained her footing and wielded the knife at defendant Diddy, grazing his abdomen. Hearing the commotion, defendants KK and Jane Doe emerged, and defendant KK then began administering first aid to defendant Diddy for the injuries caused by plaintiff. Plaintiff tried to make quick dash for the exit, but it was thwarted by defendant Doe 1. After a period of time, plaintiff was able to abscond from defendant Doe 1 due to the first aid commotion with defendant Diddy and was able to run down the street. Once plaintiff made it onto the street, she began yelling loudly for someone to call the police. Defendant Doe 1, who had now caught up with plaintiff, advised plaintiff that he was an undercover cop. Oh my. To this day, plaintiff is unsure of the truth or falsity of that statement. The same neighbor then again emerged from his residence asking what was transpiring. Just as plaintiff was attempting to answer, pow-pow shots began being fired in plaintiff's direction. Plaintiff fled to a car near where the neighbor was, also taking cover, and lost sight of defendant Doe 1. Plaintiff then heard a SUV screeching and speeding, leaving the residence. Plaintiff then entered the home of the neighbor, who informed her that he had already called the police. Plaintiff informed the neighbor that it was Sean Combs who had arred her and shot at them, but the neighbor was unaware of who defendant Diddy was. Shortly thereafter, a sheriff from the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department arrived at the neighbor's home. Plaintiff told the sheriff she had been violently gang-arred by defendant Diddy and others, and that she did not have her clothes, phone, purse, car keys, or cell phone. The sheriff told plaintiff and the neighbor that they had received several noise complaints prior to the neighbor's call and instructed plaintiff to find a way to get home. The sheriff did not offer to take plaintiff home, nor did he call for emergency services, including an ambulance, nor any offer to take plaintiff to the hospital, nor any offer to help plaintiff recover her clothes or effects from defendant Shane's residence. The neighbor offered to let plaintiff sleep on his couch until she could figure out a way to get her possessions and get home, but plaintiff declined and only remained at the neighbor's residence for a short period of time once the sheriff left. Plaintiff then went back to defendant Shane's residence, where she found the door open and her clothes were readily accessible in his residence. Defendant Shane then emerged as if nothing had transpired and offered for plaintiff to stay at his residence while she, quote, slept it off. Plaintiff asked for her purse and her keys, but defendant Shane told her she shouldn't leave in her condition, and plaintiff, catatonic and in a state of shock and disbelief of the events that transpired, stayed at defendant Shane's home while defendant Shane left the home. Later that morning, defendant Shane returned to the residence and woke plaintiff up and finally gave her back her purse, cell phone, and keys, and plaintiff left the defendant's residence. In a daze, plaintiff returned home and tried to make sense out of what happened to her.
Okay, thank you. On March 26, 2018, plaintiff contacted her primary care physician and asked for an HIV and STD test and fear of possibly having contracted the disease from her violent R. They should be able to get her medical records to, at least prove that piece did happen. Plaintiff tried to continue her life as she felt she wouldn't be believed, as plaintiff already told Contra Costa Sheriff's Department Diddy argued her to no avail. Further, plaintiff was under the impression, and she did continue to say defendant Diddy's name in relation to assault, she would not be believed and her family would be in danger. Seemingly mere days, maybe even the day before plaintiff Vicious R, defendant Jane had miraculously began driving a new car. Plaintiff believes this was payment by defendant Diddy for setting up plaintiff to be R'd. A few weeks later, in April 2018, plaintiff is still in pain and reeling from the horrific assault, went to the hospital as her injuries have not subsided from the assault. That's another great thing, that she should be able to get these records. The hospital conducted several tests on plaintiff, including an R kit, ultrasound, and x-rays. Additionally, plaintiff was given IV fluids to stabilize her vitals as she was in severe weakened state from being unable to eat and losing a substantial amount of weight. Somebody, just want to make sure everybody's muted. Sorry. Losing weight, a substantial amount of weight since the R occurred. While at the hospital, plaintiff told members of her treatment team about her horrific assault, and they contacted the Walnut Creek police. Walnut Creek police showed up to plaintiff's hospital room and took a statement regarding her assault on March 23rd. Plaintiff had already told Contra Costa Sheriff's about her R, and that it was defendant Diddy who orchestrated it on March 23, 2018, which was ignored. Plaintiff declined to refer to defendant Diddy again to the Walnut Creek police because she believed she would be ignored by the Walnut Creek police, just as she was by the Contra Costa County Sheriff, and or would be further harmed by defendant Diddy if he discovered she named him to police. Plaintiff only told Walnut Creek police about the assault from defendants Shane and Doe 2. I can understand why she did that. Plaintiff believes her statements made to Walnut Creek police while at the hospital was captured by police body cam footage. Okay. Plaintiff further believes her statements made to Contra Costa Sheriff on March 23rd, immediately after vicious assault, where plaintiff named defendant Diddy directly and by name, was captured by police body cam footage. Plaintiff was also filed a report to Orinda Police Department on April 17, 2018, but again was afraid to name defendant Diddy as one of her assaultants. During this report, plaintiff provided her clothing to the police from that night of. Well, this girl did, assault, but they only retained her underwear. To date, the underwear was never returned, and plaintiff believes no investigation ever commenced. Plaintiff sought assistance from therapists in May 2018, one of which tried to have her therapy appointments covered by a victim's compensation fund, was rejected because plaintiff was told no law enforcement agency had opened an active investigation into any of her many reports of her violent GR. Subsequently, thereafter, plaintiff asked police for a copy of her report from the Walnut Creek Police Department on July 19, 2018. Plaintiff was provided a letter from the Walnut Creek Police Department stating that it was unable to furnish the information as it is confidential and not subject to public release, despite plaintiff not being the public and the victim complainant. In March 2024, plaintiff was re-traumatized by all of the events surrounding defendant Diddy, including the several civil complaints filed against him, as well as the raid on defendant Diddy's California and Florida residence. Plaintiff called Contra Costa Sheriff again in hopes of renewing her previous complaint and amending it to ensure defendant Diddy's name was included. Plaintiff received no response from the sheriff. Plaintiff in July 2024 then emailed the chief of the sheriff's office regarding her complaint, lack of the investigation, and how she was treated by the initial responding officer. Plaintiff then later received a call back from a detective, but then nothing further. Plaintiff then began seeking legal counsel for her claims, ultimately referred to undersigned for representation. Undersigned counsel also attempted to get a copy of the 2018 police report from Contra Costa Sheriff, but was told that they would not provide the report or any other information without a subpoena. Plaintiffs incorporate by reference and re-allege each of the preceding paragraphs and all paragraphs below as though the fully set forth and brought in this cause of action. Defendants as well as others known and unknown are persons within the meeting, and then they give all kind of like all the statutes with that. This girl, if she can get her hospital records, these police reports, in her therapy records, she has a ground to stand on. As forth above, the Diddy SA abuse and cover-up enterprise was designed and used as a tool to enable defendant Diddy and the Diddy SA and cover-up enterprise participants to participate in a pattern of racketeering activity. Then it tells some just statutes there. I'm not going to sit there and cover all of those. Let me see. Each participant in the Diddy SA and cover-up enterprise has a systematic linkage to each other participant through personal relationships and employment relationships, and function as a continuing unit for the purpose of furthering the scheme and their common purposes. Defendants, upon information and belief, also use the internet and other electronic facilities to carry out the scheme and conceal the ongoing SA and fraudulent activities taking place within the Diddy SA and cover-up enterprise. The wire transmissions described here within were made in furtherance of defendant's scheme and common purpose. Defendant's scheme and above described racketeering activities amounted to a common course of conduct intended to cause plaintiff and others to hide and conceal defendant Diddy's abuse. Each such racketeering activity is related, had similar purposes, and involved the same or similar participants in methods of commission, and has similar results affecting similar victims, including plaintiff defendants. Fraudulent activities are part of their ongoing business and constitute a continuing threat to the plaintiff. So all of this is going to help the feds keep him behind bars. This is just talking about his patterns, the enterprise, how everybody helped him with the abuse, how his fame and notoriety is what allowed him to have this reign of terror over 3 decades. Let me just see if there's something else important that I want to talk about in here, because they're kind of repeating a lot of stuff. So defendants KK, Shane, and Doe's knowingly benefited from the Diddy SA and cover-up enterprise as they retained employment and benefits and other monetary benefits. Specifically, defendant Shane mysteriously had a brand new car upon information and belief provided to him by defendant Diddy in thanks and appreciation of facilitating the SA on plaintiff. Defendants KK and Shane and Doe's willfully ignored the dangers of defendant Diddy's conduct and pattern of harassment, SA, abuse, and misconduct solely for their own personal economic benefit. Plaintiff reports to police were ignored. Others who complained about defendant Diddy's egregious behavior were ignored, and to Cassie Ventura sued defendant Diddy. Since Ms. Ventura bravely, countless individuals have come forward and filed complaints regarding SA abuse at the hands of defendant Diddy. The chorus of victims and evidence obtained by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York ultimately led to defendant Diddy being indicted for RICO violations and ST, among other charges. The Diddy SA and cover-up, that's kind of doing the same thing. They're talking about what happened to Cassie was cover up. She said, most notably, a video showing defendant Diddy abusing Ms. Ventura was covered up and sold to him. In this instance, case defendant Diddy was aided and abetted by his network of employees, including defendant KK, defendant Doe 1, and his personal bodyguard, who was unknown to plaintiff then and now, and defendant Doe 3, defendant Diddy's driver, who helped him escape and evade capture by police after plaintiff's harrowing escape. Defendants KK, Shane, and Doe's were members of Diddy's SA and cover-up enterprise and facilitated, benefited from, had knowledge of, or should have known of defendant Diddy's SA and predatory S behavior. Defendants KK, Shane, and Doe assisted in defendant Diddy's predatory S behavior and everything else. Is kind of saying like the same things there. So The idea here is she has introduced KK, Shane, and saying that they all benefited somehow from helping Diddy do these deviant behaviors. I'm trying to see where else I saw where they really introduced something different or new. Plaintiff has experienced years of anxiety and depression since the violent art and assault that occurred in 2018. Her anxiety and depression was compounded by a lack of care and complete disregard of her reports to law enforcement. Even when plaintiff was brave enough to name defendant Diddy to the police when called immediately after the incident, she was dismissed and treated as if she was lying due to the fame and overall public support of defendant Diddy at the time, which speaks to the widespread of influence defendant Diddy had over the general public at large. I'm wondering why she didn't sue these police departments also. Plaintiff has struggled with her inability to reconcile her horrible experience with defendant Diddy and other members of Diddy's abuse enterprise and their outward failure to protect women, as members included women. At all relevant times, all defendants were aware of the essential nature and scope of Diddy's SA cover-up, and they participated. Second cause of action, violation of racketeer influence in corrupt organizations. So they're just telling you what she's saying in here. The third charge is cause of action, civil code as battery. The fourth cause of action is cause of California civil code SA. The next cause of action is California civil code sexual harassment. The next cause of action is battery. Trying to say the seventh cause of action is assault. The eighth cause of action is negligence. The ninth cause of action is negligence and failure to warn. Plaintiffs incorporate by reference and reallege each of all the preceding and all paragraphs below are therefore. Defendant conduct created a risk of physical or emotional harm to the plaintiff. Defendants knew and had reason to know that plaintiff was at risk for SA and abuse by defendant Diddy. So she's saying pretty much that this Shane put her in this danger. 10th cause of action is negligence, supervision, and retention. At all times, material defendants KK, Doe's 1 and 3, and Jane Doe were employed by Diddy. So they're saying that these individuals helped. 11 cause of action, intentional infliction of emotional distress. 12 cause of action is negligent infliction of emotional distress. 13 cause of action is unjust enrichment. So saying that, one of the unjust enrichment is she's saying that Shane, all of a sudden got this new car. 14th cause of action is abating and abetting because he helped lure her to his home. And I wonder if he really does have cancer. 15th cause of action, Trafficking and Victims Protection Act. 16th cause of action, abating, abetting, and inducing a trafficking venture in violation of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act.
Diva, if I may say something here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time since the indictment in Cassie's suit that we're hearing about someone saying they were ex-trafficked.
Right.
So now, based on what we read, she went over to go visit, and she's saying it resulted in her being ex-trafficked. And how was that happening? What's her name said, we can sell her, don't glaze her face.
Yep.
Right? They were going to put her out. Her family was never going to see her again. So this is the first one since. Right. So this will be incorporated into the superseding indictment.
Yes, it will. Thank you for adding that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's naming every one of these, she's naming underneath it who she's claiming did this to her. 17th cause of action, knowing beneficiary in an ST venture in violation of the ST Victims Protection Act. And she's blaming Shane, KK, Doe's 1 and 3, and this Jane Doe. I would love to know who this Jane Doe was. 18th cause of action, obstruction of the enforcement of Trafficking Victim Protection Act. Again, the Shane, KK, and the Jane Doe and the John Does. Nineteenth cause of action is false imprisonment, and that's against Diddy, Shane, KK, Does 1 and 2, and Jane Doe. I'm thinking she's considering Doe 3, the driver. Request for relief, okay? Demand for a jury trial. And like I said, she's demanding $50 million is the number that she put out there. Whew, it's crazy. It's a lot. We'll do our final thoughts on this. And what are your thoughts, Katrina?
That Diddy Goose is cooked. This just, I mean, every day is a lawsuit going on this man, and she got her facts straight. The thing about it is, we just hope that she can prove it in court, but she has a lot going for her. That's all I got, Diva.
Thank you. I feel like she should be able to get these records from the therapist, especially because they tried to use, I'm sure they would have had to fill out paperwork to try to use this fund to cover her therapy. Unless everybody's hiding stuff, hopefully she can get these documents. Wayne, your thoughts?
I'm just, I won't say confused, but maybe frustrating that, okay, now people coming seemingly forth with evidence, saying they have evidence, but ain't nobody going to jail. I mean, all these people, I mean, I just can't understand. They suing for all this money. And I'm not saying she don't deserve it, this is true or whatever. It's just kind of frustrating when you hear all of this, you hear all these people, you begin to like, you know, you don't want to victim shame. Okay. But at the same time, it's just so hard that when people have seemingly said they violated, I mean, I don't know, how do you end up in these, I don't know, how do you end up in these situations where, you know, these are horrific things that's been done. I mean, if you say, why did she do this or why did she do that? Oh, you're victim shaming. But when you come forth with this stuff, I mean, after something so horrific, and it's been years, I mean, how do you expect people to believe you now? I mean, I hope all this, you know, it seemed like they mentioned something about, you know, police cams and, you know, cameras here that got this and this, and, you know, she went to the police, you know, and filed the R, all this evidence, you know, and oh my God, I almost got a headache of John Doe. I mean, of 1, 2, you know, this one, that one. I just got confused. I don't know who was who, you know, but it's all these people. I'm like, well, I don't want to say that, but what is it that people keep going back? Or if they got away, I mean, what is it that you go back? I mean, it's just, I've never been in nothing nowhere near close to that. So I'm like, I don't have the mindset, but I have the mindset that it was so horrific. And now, I mean, and where do they get these amounts from? Do they come up with them? Do the lawyer come up with them? Are the lawyers taking these cases because they think it's money in it for them? I mean, how would you know to come up with $50 million? Or is this a thing like the lawyer saying, okay, I think it's some money in this. Let's go for 50 million because, you know, I need to at least get 10 million out the deal if I'm going to take this. I just don't know. I guess I just don't know where to draw the line, what to believe, when to believe it, who to believe, you know, but it's just so hard for me to believe that all these people who have been horrifically violated, and now that these people just feel like if I say more, I'm gonna get whacked. You know, he knows this person, he knows that person, whatever. And now that they got him, I can come forth. Maybe that's the mindset. Maybe they feel that, okay, he can't come after me. He can't hurt me anymore. He's away. But if other people was involved, why not, you know, like you see one of the cases where they were saying like the what was it, the driver or the bodyguard or something like that? Mm-hmm. Why people ain't going after these people? Why people ain't saying, well, this bodyguard saw it, his name is such and such, such and such. You know, it seems like they going more for the money than they're going for the people. If you violated me and it was 5 or whatever, I want to go after everybody, not just the one that got the money. Okay, if it's not the money, then go after them. I don't care if they ain't got pot to piss in or when to throw it out of. They can at least go to jail if they did something horrific or even helped or stood by. That's what I'm saying. You know, Diddy's where he's supposed to be. But other people supposed to be there too, or something on the line. Somebody, I just can't believe that one man and his golden piece is hitting all of this and just going down the line. I don't believe that all these people that, like you said, went to a party and all these names. I just can't believe that a lot of these high-profile people, and I know the guy that just left, you know, when he called those names and stuff like that, why call those names if they was just at the party? You should have prefaced it by, you know, they have parties. These are rich people. Rich people rub elbows together. They go places together. But everybody not risking their millions and millions and millions of dollars. And, if, you know, they make it seem like all these people got to get off at this party. I don't understand. I don't understand. And I don't believe all these people. I know it's been a long time, but I just can't believe all these people are involved in this BS. I'm sure some top people, whatever, might be in there, you know, but come on. These names he was calling, I mean, to me, that was just egregious. You know, to say that personally to me on the platform, because if you hadn't cleared it up, people would have went back, would have thought that, oh my God, so-and-so was there, the VP, this one was there. But okay, they probably been at other parties. They could have been at the Jay-Z party. They could have been at the Diana Ross party. Diddy don't have a monopoly on parties. Granted, he probably has maybe, you know, these big gatherings and stuff like that. But a lot of them were probably real big gatherings, and people probably did have a good time. But everybody didn't stay for the, you know, there's an after party. I believe some of these people were clueless. Everybody not trying to stay up to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Some people go, the party's over, boom, they're gone. I mean, these people got lives. So I'm just really confused why all of this, you know, people aren't willing to say other names. Maybe the lawyers is instructing them what to do, what to say, where do we go after, where's the money at? To me, it all seemed like with the lawyers and everybody, you know, it's like, okay, what can I get out of it? Mm-hmm. This is the case. How much money can I get out of it? What is it worth to me? So I'm just so confused. It's, you know, that all these people, and that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I appreciate you. The thing that is a little different with her case is, first of all, the cops, in my opinion, are you going to admit to ignoring this? So I can understand why there's no probably paperwork being produced. How do you ignore this? This is egregious. She went to the hospital and her R kit was done. This is she got a different level here. Although some of her beginnings of her lawsuit, I'm not following, but I'm gonna do a little something different with her here is because she claims she went to the cops several times, and she claims she went to the hospital, and she claimed there was therapy. Now, I do know this. She's saying that they tried to get her, therapy paid through a fund. You have to fill out paperwork when it comes to these funds. And so they're saying she was denied. They're not going to deny you right off the back. You got to fill out some paperwork. So she should be able to get that also. How she went to the hospital this time, and she went to the therapist, it was denied. And where is the R kit? At the very least, it will prove something happened. You can't prove who did it, but you can prove something happened. I was going for therapy. They tried to get my therapy paid this way. This is a lot. Felicia,
But can I say one other thing? Don't they have access to medical records?
Now, it's recent. I don't know how recent they started allowing patients to go on portals and get their own medical records. Now, this happened in 2018. I don't know if it was as recent as 2018, but it was allowing patients to get access to their own medical records. Maybe so, but I'm thinking, I'm sorry to say no. I'm thinking though, Wayne, that something's telling me that if it is there, it ain't there now.
Yeah, I'm talking about at the time, like, you go to the hospital for something or whatever, and just to have a hard copy,
Oh, they give you discharge instructions.
What that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're at work, I mean, you got a job and you're off because you had for whatever medical reason, something like that, you got to bring something back to your employer, don't you? To say,
I don't know where she worked.
No. Okay, but
listen,
what I'm just saying
hold,
is that
hold on one second, Wayne. You can get medical records even outside of a court case. You have the right to your own medical records.
That's what I thought.
You do. But what I'm saying is, though, if they allegedly cannot find said things, and I don't know like how easy it's going to be if she didn't get it at the time. I don't know how easy it is going to be, because what is this? 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's about 6 years. I don't know how easy it's going to be for her to go back in time and get those records. But I don't know if our kid has to automatically also go to a police department. These are things I would have to look up. Let Felicia.
Okay.
Go ahead, Felicia, because we're about to close out.
Okay, there's so much to unpack here, but I'm going to go back to the very beginning. If you're really looking for a cash payment, you would have went after the hospital.
Come
you
on,
would have
now.
went after the police. This community is nothing but upper middle class wealth. They've got money. Negligence seems to me like law enforcement was quite negligent. However, when they were reached out to about this incident, they said they investigated and her claims were unfounded. So just the fact that they put that in writing, I'm definitely coming for you. I'm coming for you now. Okay? Because based on this suit that we just read, she states several occasions and that she was treated. And Wayne is absolutely correct. If you were treated on a particular day, you had IV, you had this, you had that, you were messed up, you leave the hospital with what was
discharge paperwork.
That's right. So I know the folks in the chat and the rest of the folks in the panel didn't actually see what we were reading, but I can say from what I read, there were no exhibits. It didn't say see Exhibit A, hospital report. See Exhibit B, police report. Didn't say anything like that. it's written in there that that's what happened, but we
Mhm.
didn't get any exhibits or addendums to see such attachments.
Facts.
So because that is missing, and I'm reading this horrific story of what happened to this person, you had several witnesses who I personally, if I look out my back window and there's a man out there naked and he's carrying a weapon, I don't need you to tell me I need to not or do call the popo. I'm calling because I don't know what's going on. I know what I'm looking at is weird. And so they called. I don't know how she knew to go to that person's house. Things were a little blurred. Like, how did you get out when you couldn't get out, but there was a main entrance, there was a back entrance? I don't know. I'm gathering that they were all kind of doing substances. I really do. I really do believe that. But when I'm looking at her document, as I said, I'm going right to the very beginning. She doesn't go after the police departments, and she doesn't go after the hospitals, and she doesn't go for her therapist. And this is a very wealthy community. If you need to be compensated, you're seeking economic justice, oh, they're going into that lawsuit. If I'm going to put out what happened to me, I'm coming for everybody. I'm looking for that justice from everyone. And the other thing was this ex-trafficking component, and this, what they referred to, and if you all remember when we were reading it, they kept calling it a cover-up enterprise. They did not refer to it as a criminal enterprise. Language is very important to me. So I'm like, well, how do we go in from an indictment that says a criminal enterprise, but now it's a cover-up enterprise in her legal document? So I'm thinking, well, why would they want to change the language like that? So I recall when Mr. Combs was first picked up, they were saying initially, his defense, that Ms. Ventura would be on the defense side what they consider a co-conspirator. So if that is true, and that was still part of what they're thinking, this woman, Ms. Parham, would not be considered a co-conspirator. So her suit would be able to be introduced into this as an enterprise. However, it's a cover-up enterprise. They're not saying a criminal enterprise in this particular suit. So we'll see. We'll see. But she has absolute access to her medical records, and it's my understanding that our kids are saved for perpetuity. So, and then she said something about, well, they didn't have all her clothes. Well, I guess not, because at one point you said your clothes, you went and got your clothes and your keys, and things were just very confusing in the language there. But we'll see. We'll see how long this one has legs.
We'll see how long this one has legs. Yeah, there was the only I'm leaning back for 1.2 seconds because I'm guessing at some point she brought her clothes to them from that day, and they only kept the underwear, but she never said the underwear was ripped off her or anything like that, because she said this Shane undressed her.
Correct.
This is a lot, and I gotta let this marinate. And the only reason why I'm letting hers marinate versus the rest of them is because this and thank you Storm Radio for this, for the Brady rule, where you're confirming that the prosecution has to, as we stated, give the defense all the information that they need and that they're asking for. But she's bringing in a bigger situation here. But as you stated, I would have been suing both police departments, because she's also saying that she feels that body cam was taken. So not only should she have reports, but she's saying there should be body cam. But like you said, if this thing is written up correctly, Felicia, the police department responded and said, we ain't giving you nothing until you get your subpoena. So that means something must be there. They ain't say we never heard of you. We don't know what you're talking about. They said you're not getting anything until we get a subpoena. But the other problem she had, which when we watched the News Nation, is that she went back and amended it later to add Diddy's name. So initially she was just naming Shane, I guess, and other people. And then later on, she went back and amended and put Diddy's name in it. This thing is a lot.
But with what you said, he still lives there. He's still alive, this Shane person. She didn't pursue it to go after him, but according to this suit, he was actively involved in her assault. I'm really, it's not doing it for me. I believe something happened to her. I believe she was assaulted. By whom, I don't know. There was just too many does in this story. She mentions the driver, then she throws him in the end, that he facilitated this escape. This is why we hear the language, and they heard the car screeching away. You know, that's motion picture stuff. That's, you know, nobody drove away quietly, you know.
Right. But, you know, and not only that, Felicia, the other part that just, she saw so much to have been traumatized. She remembered Diddy running up the stairs, falling down the stairs, and then all the commotion was them helping them with, because she grazed him with the knife. I'm feeling like, and I'm trying to research this, but I can't really find much on her. I'm feeling like this Christina has some type of medical background. Not too many people are just so comfortable administering IVs and all of that stuff and doing the first aid stuff. I'm feeling like there's some medical background with her. I could be wrong. This is just my feeling right now that's coming to me, that she has some type of medical background. This thing is interesting, but this girl, she first claimed after all was said and done, remember, she was very weak. She was very weak. But if she was given that much substances and she was that weak, she got a lot of strength afterwards to get up, to be in a knife fight with people, to brush past people. She was clear enough to recognize everything that was going on in the surroundings. They was out there smoking weed. They was doing this. They was doing that. It's a lot. Yeah, I just, something. So I'm just feeling like this woman is somehow in the medical field or something. I don't know what to think anymore. But as I close out, I want to close out with this, where what's the name? Richard, what's her name again? That chick, her lawyer said, confirms that the reason why Diddy was denied, is this the one I want to show? Was denied. Dawn Richard's lawyer confirms Diddy was denied bail due to witness tampering to her
when they worked for him and made music with him. So thank you for having me. I'm very proud to represent Dawn Richard. She is a singer. She's currently on tour. She's a very successful recording artist with millions of followers on social media. And she worked with Diddy since 2004 on the TV show Making the Band, in the band called Dan Diddy Kane, and in the band called Diddy Dirty Money. And she alleges a horrifying series of events of sexual harassment, sexual assault, sex trafficking, false imprisonment, essentially that she was threatened. She witnessed incidents of abuse against Cassie Ventura and others. And she has come forward, and I'm very proud to represent her. We filed her civil case over a month ago before the federal criminal case. The federal criminal case came after ours, but it was strikingly similar. Many of the same allegations that women were victimized, that they were terrorized, that they weren't even paid properly when they worked for him and made music with him. So thank you for having me. I'm very proud to represent Dawn Richard.
So listen, guys, this is a lot. We still got a lot to dissect with this Diddy thing. It is absolutely crazy. We got more to get into with this, guys. Listen, hit the like button. If you didn't hit the like button on the way in, hit the like button on the way out. We'll continue tomorrow night with trending topics. All I can say is good night and goodbye, everybody. I'll see y'all next time.